Today's verse of the day, Colossians chapter 3, verses 23 through 24. Whatever you do, work heartily, as for the Lord and not for men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the inheritance as your reward. You are serving the Lord Christ. Make your why greater than yourself. And who's greater to make your why than God? The purpose you're living for is to serve Jesus Christ, to serve your Lord, Christ and Savior, whether it's to provide a resourcefulness ability to gather people and create a community that follows Christ, whether it's to provide love, provide care, concern, energy, effort to give back to people, whatever the case is. So find your purpose and align your purpose with what God has intended for you so that you can now enhance your life and receive greater abundant resources and results from the things that you're doing. But it only starts with how you show up and how you are living, what you're living for, what you're doing, the things you're doing for, in order to get the results that you want out of life. With that being said, let's get to the charts. What's good, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Stock Market Recap and Market Predictions. Today we have the QQQ chart loaded on the 5-minute time frame, so let's talk about what we took on Monday. So, going into the initial day, we had a failure below 719, going all the way back down to our previous level of demand at 714 to 715. But we reached 713 where we then saw a reversal, reclaim back into 715, bouncing off that level, pushing back higher, going all the way up to 722, which was our second level in the Qs. And then we broke above that level, held above it a little bit, but then we saw a reversal, sharp reversal off that level, going back down to around 719. So I looked to take a put position on this trade actually once we got back to this level here at 722. I waited for confirmation of some form of failure, wanted to see if it would fake out and go back lower. I got in around this candle high here, but then it stopped me out of my position because I had very tight stop loss on this move because I did want to see it fail, but I did not want to see it go higher. Unfortunately, it went higher, stopped me out of my position. Soon after stopping me out of my position, we had a sharp reversal back down. In two candles, we retraced back down to 719. So I missed that move going back to the downside. However, I was able to capture a little bit of a reversal move back up to the upside after closing and reclaiming the EMAs. I took a little bit of a scalp position here, retesting that 722 from 720.5 all the way back up to that level. I took profits and then I got trailed out of my position as we reversed and went back lower. So overall, decent trades. The initial idea I had was good. It just was liquidated, and sometimes that happens in the market. You might have a stop loss that's too close to home, and it might hit liquidation, and the market makers will stop you out of your position, and then they'll make the move that you intended it to happen. And so that's what happened on Monday. It was unfortunate, but that's just the market. That's how it goes sometimes. So nonetheless, we were able to come out on top on Monday after taking that re-entry scalp back to the upside. So I was happy with the day. Let's move on to Tuesday, talk about what trades we took on Tuesday. All right, you guys, and here we have the Tuesday chart loaded back on the Q's 5-minute time frame. So let's talk about what took place on Tuesday. So as you guys see here, we had an initial hold above our 720 level going into the initial opening of the day. From there, we broke back above that previous level of 722. Once we got a break above that level, we were able to push higher, going all the way up to 725.6. From there, though, we did see an aggressive sell-off come into the market after failing to hold above 722. We pushed all the way back down to 714, which is where I looked to take a position. Seeing that we were showing some form of holding here off of this level, I saw two wicks off the previous level, so I did look to take a long position. However, it was short-lived. After failing to hold that level, we then pushed even lower, breaking that 714, going all the way back down, and really selling off for the rest of the day. As you guys see, had an aggressive sell-off all the way down to 686. We then had a very sharp reversal, pushing back up and reclaiming above 704.5, which was the previous week low. So it was just an unfortunate position for me. We had a lot of volatility this week, especially leading up to the SpaceX IPO. And yeah, this was my worst day of the week, just simply due to the fact that I had took this position with some size, and I had a little more confidence seeing that we had held the level. It was a previous level demand, and I just thought that this level was going to reverse and reclaim, pretty much sweep the sellers and reverse. But that was not the case. We had a lot more volatility favored towards the downside, and it just sold for the rest of the day. And I did miss out on this downside move. After taking that L, I kind of just took a break from the market that day because I just was caught off guard by that move. So unfortunate move, but that happens, especially whenever the market's very volatile. You got to be mindful of the volatility, especially in this market. When the volatility kicks in, it will kick in, as you guys see. You see all this selling pressure kick in. The same thing happens on the upside. Whenever there's volatility to the upside, it will move in a very aggressive way. That's why we saw the move that we had later in the day happen whenever we reversed and pushed higher off of our new retested level of demand at 686. So very unfortunate move, but we kept our risk in check, and that was the only thing that mattered. As long as we kept our risk in check, we will be able to live to see another day, which is what happened going into Wednesday. So let's talk about what trades we took on Wednesday. All right, you guys, here we have the Wednesday chart loaded on the Qs, 5-minute time frame. So let's talk about what took place on Wednesday. So as you guys remember, Tuesday we had the sellout that we had, but we reclaimed that 704 level, opening the day below that level. Then shortly after that, we reclaimed above it, pushing back up into our previous level of resistance closer to 714. I was personally looking to see a rejection off that level after we had the failure that we had the day before, looking for a continuation to the downside. However, we look to be holding above our 704.5 level well. That was our level of retracement. So meaning the market kept retracing and going back down to that level, bouncing off that level, going a little bit higher and higher and higher. And so after seeing that, I did decide to take a little bit of a scalp move after we held above this level closer to about 707.5, and I looked to take a quick move off that level, seeing that it was the orb high. EMAs were right around that level, and we were holding this uptrend. So I did take a position there. I was able to capture the move to the upside. Then I used a trailing stop loss below the EMA as a stop. Really just trailed the stop loss, honestly, really tight, because I was still bearish on this move. I did want to see it retest 714 and then fill it. Due to the fact that we had such an aggressive selling pressure move the prior day. So I did trail this move tight, and I was able to capture a pretty good move up. And then once we reversed and flipped back below this level and we broke trend, I then looked to take puts. So where I took puts at was right around here. After failing to hold above that orb high and that EMA and that uptrend, I looked to take puts off this level using this candle high as a stop loss. I was able to capture this move all the way back down to 700. We broke below 700, but by then I was pretty much done for the day because I had a lot of other things I had to do. But this trade did work out really well, and it did trail a little bit lower and lower and lower later in the day. Just moved very slow after that, however. So I'm happy I finished where I did, because that was the flowing move that we needed to capture. And that made up for the prior day on Tuesday, not capturing that downside move. We were able to capture the downside move on Wednesday, so I was happy about that. And that's the thing about day trading. You want to keep your risk manageable enough so that you can capitalize on the wins on the next day or the day after or the week after. It might happen randomly, but you just have to always be prepared for that next opportunity in the market for you to succeed. So with that being said, let's move on to Thursday, talk about what trades we took on Thursday, and move on to Friday after that. Hey, what's going on, y'all? I just want to say thank you all for watching. If you guys are new, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Also, turn on the notification bell. And if you guys want to learn more about how to day trade, I have a free day trading course on my website at www.continuebelief.com. There you'll get all the information and resources needed to help you guys learn more on your journey to day trading. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let's get back to it. Guys, here we have the Thursday chart loaded up on the Qs once again. So we were failing to hold above 704.5, which was our previous week low. As I was noticing, we were failing to hold below that level. We were seeing some formation of holding happen around 700, particularly 699.5. As you guys see, we were initially holding above that level. Then later on in the session, we did see a failure below it. Once we got a failure below it, I did look to take calls, seeing that we were retesting a level of demand and a previous day low. I did take this position. I don't believe it was previous day low at the time, actually. No, it wasn't. But it was a previous low of demand on the daily chart. So I did look to take that level, seeing that we were holding there, and I was able to capture this move back to the upside. Now, what I should have done was hold this position until it trailed me out. What I did do was sell this position fully once we retested at 699, not waiting to see whether we would fill that level again or not. And the reason I did that was because I was more lenient towards the bearish side, seeing that we were still holding this daily downtrend and 4-hour downtrend on the larger time frame. So I was looking to take puts, which is what I did end up doing. I took profits here on my calls position, and then I looked to re-enter with puts. But it was a very short-lived move, as we see here. It did fail and stop us out, and then broke above and kept going higher. From there, I realized that, okay, the next level of resistance would be the 704.5 level. So I did take a position on 704.5. I was able to capitalize off of it. But once again, very short-lived move. As we see, it did trail us out of this position after trailing my stop loss. So from there, I just looked to wait it out and see if we were going to fail or break this level. We failed it once again. As we failed it once again, I did look to take puts going back below the 699.5 level. But I was very hesitant about this move, and I did trail this move very tightly. Initially using this candle as a stop loss, we saw this move lower. I did take most profits here. Then I trailed this stop loss once again. Then we got stopped on this position. And then I think I had 1 or 2 contracts left on another account that I had. So I was still trailing this stop loss to be higher, right around this candle high here. So I was able to capitalize off this initial move to the downside. But that was short-lived, as we then had an aggressive Trump candle kick in the market, and we did see this candle reclaim our previous week low, our previous level that we were resisting for the day, and break out and go right back into our range of 714 to 704.5. And that just triggered my stop loss on my other position, so I was fully out of that position. But then I decided, okay, we're now flipping buy, so looks like we're reclaiming levels of demand here. So let's see if we can hold this position and push higher, and that's what I did. I looked to take positions off of the upside move that we had after retesting the 708 level, 706.8 to 708 level. I noticed that we were holding above our 708 level that we need to see. Using this candle low as a stop loss, I was able to capitalize off this move to the upside as well. So we did take an L, holding our shorts initially. Then we had got our stop loss triggered on the initial move to the upside that we saw on this big Trump candle. But then we looked to take a re-entry off this candle low here. Using that candle as a stop loss, we were able to capitalize off this move back up to the upside, retracing back above 714. I didn't capture that. I just went back into 712, took full profits, and then noticed that it was still going. I did look to take a re-entry later in the day, and I did capitalize off this move later in the day as well. So we were happy with our overall execution on Thursday, but it was a lot of trading, and I will notice and take note of that as well, that we did overtrade on Thursday. And Thursdays are not days that, for me at least, I should be trading a lot, because that is the day where I tend to trade the worst. So that's just something to be mindful of going forward for me. But nonetheless, we did have really good execution. Once again, doesn't excuse the over excessive trading, and so I will make sure to keep that in check going forward. But I was happy with the execution that day, so that was that. Now let's talk about Friday, what trades we took on Friday, and move on with our market predictions. Okay guys, so after a very long-winded day on Thursday, having taken the trades we took on Thursday, we slowed it down on Friday, seeing that SpaceX was about to IPO and seeing that we had the week that we had. It was very up and down, but we had a very good execution week so far. So I was happy with my overall approach, and I just wanted to take it slow on Friday. So that's what I did. I really just took a one and done trade, and I called it a day, seeing that we had very wide ranges between 712, 718. We broke above 718, as you guys see. And once we got that break above 718, I did look for a retest and a bounce higher, which is what I did end up capturing. I saw this move here, looked to take this position here, and then we were able to push a little bit higher, going into 720.7. Trailing out of that position after it hitting my stop loss, I was done for the day. So a simple break and hold above our orb high, EMAs, and our previous day high as well was the trade that I took. I saw 3 levels of confluence, 3 levels of conviction. So I said, cool, I like it. Let's take it, use our stop loss. And that's what we did. So we were able to capitalize off that move very quickly. I was very happy with that. And I was done for the day after that. And seeing that we had the movement that we had, it was really crazy. I was happy with my decision. So all in all, overall good week in the market. Let's talk about what trades we can expect to see take place going into this next week of June. All right, you guys, here we have the 4-hour chart loaded on SPY, ticker symbol SPY. What a week, man. What a last 2 weeks, honestly. We had a very aggressive sell-off last week, going into the end of last week, pushing us all the way down to 722. This week, reversing off 722, seeing a little bit of a bounce, reclaiming our 731 and 738 levels, and closing out the week at 741.75. Man, oh man, what can we expect to see take place going into this next week? What are our levels to watch? So from what I'm seeing right now, the levels to watch going into this next week of June are going to be between 737.5 and 744. As long as we hold above 737.5, I believe that we can see higher. However, we do need to get above 744. If we get a break above 744, we can push back into 748. From there, if we get a break above 748, we can see a push higher going back to 752.5. And then above 752.5, we can see a push back into all-time highs. However, if we fail to hold above 737.5, we can see a push back down to 731.5 or 732, somewhere in this range. If we fail to hold 732, we can then see a push back lower, going down to 730. Honestly, 722 is the 724 would be the level that I would say we go back down to. If we fail 732, 724 to 725 would be the next level of demand that we retest on the downside move. Now, if we hold above 725, we can see a push higher. However, if we fell below 725, we can see a push back even lower, going back down to about 720. If we fail 720, we can see a push all the way back down to 716. So those will be your levels to watch going into this next week of June. Comment below how you guys did last week. Let me know if you guys made money or lost money. Hopefully you all made money, because this is a very cash flowing market, a very free flowing market of moves to the upside and moves to the downside. So comment below how well you executed in the market last week, and comment below your thoughts on what you think will take place next week. Are you bullish or are you bearish? Let me know in the comments. With that being said, y'all, I hope you all enjoyed this episode. Thank you all for tuning in. If you guys are new, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on that notification bell for more videos. I will see you guys tomorrow, same time, same place, for the Market Mondays. Thank you all for tuning in.